Hello, my students. It's good to be back with you. I hope everybody had a great holiday and you guys feel refreshed and ready to come back to school and to learn about China, because that is where we are jumping to. So we finished the exciting world of Africa and we're jumping over to Asia now. And if you remember in the sixth grade, you ended at the Han Dynasty, at the end of the Han Dynasty or the Han Dynasty, and uh, after the Han Dynasty comes to an end, there's a time called the Three Kingdoms, and then after the Three Kingdoms comes what we are going to study and begin with now. Is called the Sui Dynasty. Now, before I begin, I just want to make this clear that I might hash a few of these names, these Chinese names, so if I do, feel free to let me know in class if those of you know how they are properly pronounced so that I can learn as much as you guys do. Okay, so let's begin. So the Sui Dynasty. So Yang Zhan started as an official of the northern Zhou tribe dynasty. He took power in 581 CE and was proclaimed Emperor Wen. He successfully led a campaign against the Chen dynasty in the south, uniting north and southern China. He unified China and found the Sui dynasty. Whenever someone is a unifier in history, that means that they fought their way and put everyone who fought against them, they put everyone down, and therefore no one is fighting against them anymore, and they have control of the land that they didn't have once before, and that's what we call a unifier. So someone who unifies, it's not someone who usually is a nice person. It's somebody who killed enough people to make the other people say we give up and we'll follow you. So we have a unifier, Emperor Wen. So Emperor Wen is credited with founding many colleges for calligraphy, law, and accounting. Calligraphy, if you aren't too familiar with it, it's the art of writing. So if you see many people have beautiful writing style, calligraphy was what really kind of got that going. Although Emperor Wen was a Buddhist, he encouraged other systems of belief. He encouraged Confucianism, thought and government. He encouraged Taoism for the common people. Emperor Wen unified China by returning to traditions. He began several large public works projects, such as there's a new capital. He began reconstructing the Great Wall, and something which is probably one of the greatest work of the Sui dynasty, which wasn't a very long dynasty at all, is the it was the Grand Canal, which connected the Yellow River to the Yangtze, or the Honghe to the Chengjiang River, as they're known in Chinese. So here's the Grand Canal. It was a huge feat. It's about 1,119 miles long, according to this, and it it was great because it was able you're able to then trade better. You could use the canal systems, and it made life a lot easier for North and South China. So Emperor Wen improved bureaucracy. He created the Department of State Affairs to run ministries of war, finance, justice, public work, rights, service, civil services. So basically, he's getting a competent government in place that can take care of all these different areas that are needed for society to run. There were 9 levels of bureaucrats. Bureaucrats is basically a government official. The top earned 900 bushels of grain per year, while the bottom earned 50, and the people who were officials in the government, they're chosen by testing, and this was something that comes out of Confucianism, where they want you to earn your station, earn your position, not because your father was rich and wealthy, but because you earned it. It's called a meritocracy. So Emperor Wen wanted all civil servants to be qualified for their duties. However, only children of aristocrats could study to pass the exam, because they're the only ones that could afford the proper education to be able to pass the exam. So it was kind of difficult if you didn't have a lot of money to raise your kid. on taking this exam, then the chances were they didn't pass. That or they were just extremely intelligent, which if that was the case, then the Chinese believed that person he should be a part of the government and become an official. Here, I'm not going to go over this, but here are the different belt class that each government official wore, starting with the first one here. This is the highest. You got rubies and jade, and the ninth you have buffalo horn. Sui Dynasty Inventions. They discovered the invention of matches, gunpowder, as you can see over here, and then the porcelain pottery, which is still very prevalent in China today. And now we're going to move over to the Tang Dynasty. So this is the Tang Dynasty, as you can see what they conquered in this area. The Han Dynasty had, not the Han, yeah, the Han Dynasty had Korea here, but after the Han Dynasty collapsed, they didn't conquer Korea. In fact, the Koreans will not be conquered. I'm not sure the Tang does. I think the following dynasty might conquer this again, but Korea is going to have a long time of independence. Now, Li Yuan ended the Sui dynasty. He became emperor. In 618, he founded the Tang dynasty. Now, the emperor Gaozu was followed by Emperor Taesong. So Taesong, he's kind of a pretty smart man. This is Taesong here, and he was known for his intellect, for his wisdom. For example, here we have, about history. It said, by using the past as a mirror, you may learn to foresee the rise and fall of empires. So he was a pretty reflective individual. He was on the boat with his son one day, and he told his son, the water bears up the boat, but it can also overturn it. So with the people, they uphold the prince, but they can also overthrow him. So he really understood that the people could be an asset for a emperor, or they could be the emperor's demise. Just like the water can lift up the boat, or if it gets too rough, it can topple the boat. So he had some pretty good sayings, and he was looked upon as pretty wise in his as he was an emperor in during the Tang Dynasty. So they had a merit system, or a meritocracy, as I talked about. The Tang emperors began recruiting bureaucrats from the commoners. And think about this. So, in the Sui dynasty, only the rich people could afford the test to see if you qualify to be a government official. But not so in the Tang dynasty. They actually reached out to commoners. And one of the reasons is because they thought that if you were a commoner and you were in government, then there's a good chance that you would be more thankful for being in the government, and you would not question or try to uprise. Now, these rich people who have always had money and they're in government offices, they might be more willing to question what the emperor or empire is doing. But if you come from poor surroundings and you're just trying to claw your way up to the top, then you're probably going to be more willing to go with the flow, because you gained this station when really you shouldn't have, but it was your intellect that gave it to you. So the poor receive special training like that of the aristocrats, and that's what we call a meritocracy. America, for the most part, is a meritocracy to a degree, where you are rewarded on your merits, how hard you work, and that's not a bad thing, of course. So we have here during the Tang and Song dynasties. Song is after the Tang. Bureaucrats who perform well are promoted to higher levels. Bureaucrats who perform poorly are demoted or fired. Doesn't matter if your daddy's rich boy. If you don't do well at your job, you get fired. And so that's a different change from the Sui dynasty, in that it truly was a merit system. It's just like today. Look, if you have a job when you're older and you don't do well at your job, your boss is going to fire you, because you're not earning your keep. You're not earning the money that they're paying you to do. So they're going to find someone that does. Same here in the Tang Dynasty, and also later on the Song as well. Also, another technology is called woodblock printing. So, Chinese developed woodblock printing in the 18th century. This process was very slow. It took 21 years to print the 130 volumes of the teachings of Confucius. So, it's a slow process, however, it works. And it worked very well for the Chinese as well. Like previous dynasties, the Tang emperors lost control of their military commanders. The last Tang emperor abdicated, means give up, his throne in 907. Afterwards, China was ruled by warlords for over 50 years. And this is one of the common themes, especially in China, is that when an empire gets overthrown, then the whole country goes into a period of what we call warring states, where different warlords of pieces of China, they will fight each other. Each state will fight against each other and cause war until somebody becomes the victor of all those other states, and then they open up a whole nother empire where China is once again unified through serious and a lot of bloodshed. So the Five Dynasties. So the time from 907 to 960 CE is called the Five Dynasties. These are powerful dynasties of the north. The south had 10 small kingdoms led by military governors of the Tang Dynasty, as you can see over here. There was constant warfare in the north due to attacks by northern tribes. Okay, and you have warriors like, especially the Mongols up above, who are going to come after them. You also have the Khitans as well up here. Okay, and at the same time, southern China had peace and prosperity and cultural growth. So China, parts of China are in war, but some parts are also in peace. So we were going to talk about tea and salt, and of course porcelain. Tea became an important commodity in the South. The government created salt monopolies to raise money by collecting taxes on salt. They sold salt to merchants. Remember, salt's vital for human existence. So salt is a precious commodity, as well as it was in Africa, where it was even equal to the amount of the same weight of gold. Another development was translucent porcelain, and then the high refined porcelain was used in international trade. Foot binding. At the end of the first millennium, Chinese developed a practice called foot binding, and foot binding was practiced by the rich and the poor. Non-Chinese did not perform this binding. So at the end of the first millennium, so this was towards the end of the Han Dynasty, I believe, is when it began, and it's where women just undergo some painful practices to restrict their foot from growing even more, because it was looked upon as little feet or small feet or dainty feet were more attractive for a husband. Persecution of the Buddhists. Starting in 955 CE, Buddhists were persecuted in northern China. Monks were forced to leave their monasteries. Over 33,000 monasteries were taken over by the state, and laws were made to limit the number of new temples. So during the Tang Dynasty, there's a huge uh, um, retaliation on Buddhism, and there's a huge emphasis on Neo-Confucianism is what it's called. Neo-Confucianism. And that's it. So next time we're going to go into the Song Dynasty and see the different things, including the roads and agriculture and the different innovations that they had during that time. So go ahead and write your one-page summary on the Sui and the Tang Dynasty. I look forward to seeing you guys on Monday, the 5th of January. Until then, bye-bye.